Hello and welcome to another episode of FPL Journey to 10K, the podcasting series in which we look to get you into the mind of the former number one FPL player in the world. That is, of course, my co-host, Matt. How are you, Matt? How was your new year? Happy New Year to you. And yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, happy New Year, my friend. It's the 3rd of Jan. Are you sick of saying that phrase yet?
Yeah, especially with work emails, right? Every single one of them. That's new. Do you do anything
When
special for it?
did I had a quiet one actually. So I did a lot of stuff over the Christmas period. So had a nice relaxed one. Watched a little movie on Netflix. Had a few nice like snacks. Had a steak meal, and then had a quiet one. But I enjoyed it. What about you? Get up to anything?
All right. Yeah, I'm kind of so I'm probably mentioned a few times. I live in the Scottish capital, so there's always fireworks on. So just
Yeah.
went to watch them. I went out for some food, so nothing. Had a couple of Guinness, but nothing major, nothing major. I was nice and sober, but not too bad, not too bad at all. And then your FPL game week. I'm assuming you must be fairly happy.
No, I think congratulations to us both. Like a little pat on the back for both of us. I think that like a lot of people who've got the so-called template, right? I think we did very well. We both captained Salah as well, so that was like one of the key decision points. So we um, got the right decision there, and I think for both of us, like really nice green arrows, right? So up
Yeah,
to
I'll load
the
load them
heavy
up.
heights of I'm up to 700k, which is cool, like nosebleed territory there, which is cool. And like you're a cool 500,000, so it looks a lot better, right? And so it shows what a single good game week can do. And I think I was saying beforehand, like historically I've always thought that minimize those bad game weeks. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't plummet down the ranks. Have a few like little green arrows, and then one game we can change it all. And that's what's historically happened to me. And this is hopefully the first of many. So well done. And you're a Centaurian, right? So 102 for you,
First
mate.
one.
So congrats.
Yeah, first time this season. And if you'd have said to me before the West Ham game yesterday, will you swap your keeper and play Dubravka, finish on 99? Absolutely, I'd have took it. No question about it. No, we were texted a little bit during that game. It's like just out when's Ariel going to concede? Because he will. Luckily, we didn't cry that one in. But yeah, feel free run through your team. Appreciate none of us did any transfers, so not to cover that one. But I mean, what an
Yeah.
attacking
So
front eight, apart from maybe
yeah.
Solanke, but the stats were there from.
No, definitely. So 94 points overall. So that's like around a 300k game week rank, which I think is the best I've had of the season. I think the safety scores for me was like 75 because I'm so far down in the ranks. But yeah, what that meant is a green arrow from 400k, not far, 400k kind of green arrow. So quite a nice increase there for me. But yeah, I had Areola in goals for 11 points, so same as you. Um, when you were texting me during that match, I was like, every time you pop up, it normally means something bad. Like if there's a match going on, so I was like, what the hell is he? What the hell have you like cursed now? But he held on to max bonus, all the save points, the clean sheet. I wasn't watching that match or following it because I didn't want to attempt anything. But wow, what a big haul. And he's been lucky, right? He for both you and I think benching Dubravka against the best attacking team in the league was the right decision. Obviously, Dubravka got 8 points, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, I've screwed that up. But Areola against a very attacking Brighton team somehow managed to kind of hold on. He was very lucky, right? I think they should have probably conceded like 2+ goals in that match if like the underlying stats kind of like came through. So yeah, got lucky there, but it makes a difference. And it's kind of interesting actually because like I was hating on Areola, you were hating on Areola, right? I think he's now the second highest scoring goalkeeper, right? So it shows how tight things are, and you can get one of these random hauls, right? So got lucky there, but all good. Defense not so good. So double Arsenal defense conceded 2 goals against Fulham. I don't even think they were unlucky. I think they've been unlucky recently. I think they were quite poor against Fulham, and kind of like Saliba got a yellow card as well. So 1 point for Gabriel, 0 for
Keeping red.
Saliba. I think who I was most disappointing in it was Trent, because I think Newcastle were lucky to get a goal. I think their expected goals were like 0.5 or something crazy like that. So yeah, Trent was, but he got yellow carded as well, and that was like a bit of a dodgy period of the game, like in the first half, where Liverpool getting frustrated and like Newcastle just fouling any player and then not getting carded. So yeah, Trent kicked the ball away, so he got yellow carded. So, but he was looking really good. He was looking involved in the attacks. Obviously had that incredible shot that hit the crossbar. So like, I think a bit unfortunate with Trent 0 points, but like I'll run with it. Midfield, yeah, got the full house of returns there. So I had Palmer for 18, Richarlison for 8, Son for 9, and Salah for 32. So yeah, really kind of happy with that. And I think really, like, I don't think any of them really, they all deserved it in terms of their performances, right? I think they were all looking really good. They were all looking really attacking. And I think, yeah, a few people get wild carded this game week, right? Because it was the final game week that you could use your first half of the season kind of wild card. So quite a lot of people would have got rid of Son. They would have maybe got rid of Salah. That's a big risk, right? But I mean, and in a selfish reason, we're all competing with each other. I'm happy that didn't come off
absolutely.
Because otherwise, like the people who brought in a Foden or insert like someone else, like a Foden, Richarlison, whatever, for Son and Salah, that they'd be flying, right? So I'm kind of happy that there's a bit of punishment there. I mean, yeah, Salah, that was a game of emotions, right? I thought that was going to be a huge swing, because there was a debate around Alvarez versus Salah, and I think I would have probably captained Alvarez if I had him in my team, right? So I get why people kind of like went for him, but yeah, kind of Salah deserved that score. He looked incredible in that match, but he's not a great penalty taker. And yeah, Palmer obviously had a huge haul as well, the biggest kind of single score in my team and yours for 18. A lot of people benched him, which I think was quite bold. Like obviously he didn't play with his ban, and like, you know, bit of a different look to the Chelsea squad. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I would ever have benched him. I mean, like, he's a penalty taker and like the main attacker in a team, right? So like, people who bench him don't deserve to be 18 points down. Let's be honest. But there's no way I'd be benching him. Like if like people were playing Richarlison ahead of him, or Gordon or Darwin, or like insert other players who aren't on penalties, right? So I think I was kind of like not the best call. And I think really we got to view Palmer as, I mean, he's like probably the best cheap midfielder we've had since, I don't know, Mahrez. Right? One out, did you say?
I said John Lundstrom.
He was a defender, though, wasn't he?
I think he was he a defender? Was he a defender that just played in midfield, but he absolutely dominated?
He was a defender,
dominated.
He was a defender, wasn't he? But like, yeah, I think he's been the kind of like probably the best since like Dele Alli first season at Spurs, or kind of the Mahrez season when Leicester won the league. So like, yeah, view him as a 9 million midfielder, and then see like whether your mentality changes. So he's like a genuine captaincy option in some of these game weeks as well. So, and up front, obviously, yeah, Watkins got his assists, and Solanke was very unlucky not to get a return. I think his expected goal involvement was around about 1, so he was unfortunate. And then Nunes, I haven't even looked at his expected goal involvement, but he was involved. He got an attacking return, so happy.
Is that you looking now? Because I don't think it's not pretty reading.
So Darwin's expected in goal involvement was 2.29 in 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he could have come away from that game with like 20 points, couldn't he? Right, and it wouldn't have been undeserving, right? So yeah, I like him as a player, but yeah, I think Haaland is kind of, Haaland's return is imminent, right? So he'll be the guy making way. It'd be a shame to get rid of him. There's a minute's risk with Jota, and he played well. He did a really nice assist, so at least there was something. So yeah, 94 points, happy throughout. I think could have got more. I'm being greedy, but like, yeah, Solanke, Darwin in particular, they could have got more. So yeah, a little lost some ground to you, but made up a bit of ground on the wider crowd. So can't complain at all.
No. And so on that. So when you get Haaland back, is there no absolutely zero desire to go Watkins, Solanke to Haaland? Is it 100% Darwin, or would you
Um,
consider a Solanke move? I appreciate there's a
I,
bit more. Solanke's a bit cheaper,
yeah,
so it depends on the money.
I think for me, we're at the stage of the season where transferring out players who've got doubles, and we know there will be a double. We don't know when, right? But you're gambling a little bit that it'll be in the next couple of game weeks, right? So like Bournemouth and Solanke, you've got that game that was obviously against Luton that was cancelled when he was on track for at least 9 points. So add that asterisk season there, like Gabriel for game week 1. Solanke game week, whatever that was, like 17. Like these, the asterisks is to add. Yeah, they got to replay that. So his underlying stats have been really good. He was unlucky not to score at the weekend. There's mixed fixtures for Bournemouth, but he's looking good, and there'll be a double. So I'm not going to get rid of him. Watkins is an interesting discussion point because he's not on pens, but he plays for an attacking team, and like, he's guaranteed minutes. That's always the, and his stats are, they're not incredible. They're good. The problem with Darwin is just the minutes risk now, right? So obviously Jota, and one of the reasons why I got him in originally was like Jota and Gakpo were either both injured or had periods when they were out. I know Salah's out now, but I don't think that really affects Darwin's
Position
minutes.
wise, you might get Jota playing on the right, but Darwin won't play on the right.
No, so there's still that threat, isn't there? Really, kind of, and so I think he's the logical one to get rid of. Unfortunately, I mean, if he'd scored, he'd get a brace or something like that against Newcastle and looking good, I'd have thought I'd be more confident with him because like he's got the goals, he's cemented himself as the main man, but he didn't do that. So yeah, he's probably the main candidate to go out. But
it's also unfortunate for him that the two strikers when they came on, Gakpo got a goal. Jota comes on, gets 2 assists. So the players that are fighting for his position both delivered in that game as well. So it's I know what you mean about that minutes risk. That minutes risk, should I say? Jump on to mine. Similar team, a couple of differences, which will be the ones that I'll focus on. But joined Centurion Club, managed 100 points for the first time this season, ended on 102. Game we rank of 44,000. So I mean, more than happy with that. Helped me get a green arrow from 952k to 509. Still not happy with 509, but it's definitely in the right direction considering where it's been. So hopefully I can build on that. As I say, a lot of our players are the same. I nearly did bench Palmer. It was between Palmer and Darwin for me. I wanted to play Richarlison. I just felt playing up front as a midfielder against Bournemouth, I fancied Tottenham to score a few goals. So I was never going to bench Richarlison. And I think that swung it for me.
I don't get that though. I think obviously he's got his return again, and I think he's been one of the best players like the last 4 game weeks, underlying stats and whatnot. So it's looking really promising with Son being out. But
yeah,
like
just his position.
He's
but the
been
thing
playing
that
like
drove me
60
to
minutes.
Palmer,
Yeah,
came off again.
Been,
got his clean sheet
minutes
points
managed,
and
right?
then left.
Yeah, so,
yeah. But the reason I went for Palmer over Darwin, you touched on it, penalties. Just Darwin doesn't take bends, Palmer does. So I decided, well, let's go with Palmer, and luckily I did. So Darwin on the bench for me. Instead, I played Saka in my front 8. He got his goal. Could have had another again, if I'm being greedy. Could have had another goal that he probably should have put in, but hit it wide. So 7 points for him. I can't complain. He finally got a goal. It's been a while, so nice to see him on the score sheet. His stats look good as well. So I'm happy with him being in the team. Some nice fixtures. And then my defender, instead of Trent, I've got Walker. Discussed it last week. Bought him in for this game week and for the Burnley game week in 2 game weeks' time, on the hope that City at home against Sheffield United and Burnley will keep a clean sheet. He seemed the most guaranteed for 90 minutes. And then came off in the 67th minute. So for the first time this season, Walker got subbed. But I think that's a good thing. So the way I'm playing this to myself is, He's played 67 minutes. The 2-0 up. Take him off. Rest him for the next game week, because now that John Stones is out, you haven't really got on, unless he's going to play Rico Lewis, which you don't see. Walker's very important now to City in that position. So I think it was a take him off to rest him.
No, I agree. Yeah, that's come off pretty nicely, that move. So yeah, I think
I mean, if he gets subbed off in the 61st minute every game and they're on a clean sheet, happy days. He's not there for attacking returns. He's there for the clean sheet points. So quite happy to see him get subbed off. Although he did have a couple of shots in the game, so nothing threatening though. So yeah, they were my main two really. Walker and Saka up against Trent and Darwin was the main difference for us. But yeah, both with pretty good green arrows. Happy days. Couple of notes I've made just to chat through. Great send off from Son and Salah. So as you say, a lot of people on wildcard got rid of one or even both. And I'm with you, just to kind of go back to that team. We both discussed about potentially bringing in Alvarez. I think we both leant towards the taking a real gamble and not bringing in a City attacker. And it worked out for us, I think. I know Foden got 12, but if you'd got Foden in, you'd have captained him, not Salah. Salah got 16. So it absolutely worked out.
Well, also as well, it kind of just, we both had one transfer going into this game week, right? And we knew there were two big players leaving in our squads, right? In game week 21, right? And Son and Salah. So I mean, we played it smart. And I think I frustrated myself a little bit in some of the previous game weeks, like game week 13 to game week 18, where I've been making one free transfer every week and not rolling it. And sometimes resisting that temptation is the best move you can make, right? So I'm glad I did that, because often it does, you get that FOMO feeling, you get that fear of missing out, right? And you want to go on whoever's hot for one game week. But then it doesn't give you as much flexibility moving forward. And for you and I was looking at my team and everyone had good fixtures. Everyone was looking at like good players with good fixtures, right? And I wanted 2 free transfers. So it would have been stupid for me to bring in Foden and Alvarez, who I was considering them as great options for this game week. But maybe over the medium term, I'd need to be moving them because of potential rotation risks, right? So I'm glad I kind of like, just kind of stay put, right? And I think that's like the philosophy I like to play. It's just like, making sure I keep building for the medium term and try and have 2 free transfers wherever possible. Right? I'm kind of glad I did that.
You've obviously in a similar situation to me, and I imagine a similar situation to a lot, where you've got Son and Salah to deal with. You've also got Haaland to come back, and we'll touch more on this next week when we're kind of pre-planning our game week 21. But just early thoughts, right? If we find out Haaland is fit and he's going to start in game week 21, 2 free transfers. Do you ignore Haaland and just deal with the Son and Salah situation? Do you bench one of them? Do you take a 4-point hit? What's your early thoughts?
Yeah, I'd bring in, if Haaland's fit and if he's like in the squad. I think they play in Huddersfield and they in the FA Cup. If he's in the squad and like comes on, and there's indications, rumours, whatever that he's starting, I'd bring him in for Newcastle. If I'm getting a feeling because he hasn't been training, wasn't in the squad for Huddersfield, I can sit it out. But I think we've got to talk about Newcastle, right? I think we've got to talk about Newcastle. We've got to talk about Liverpool as well, because that game was an incredible game. And you're not going to say it, right? Because people accuse you of being biased, but throughout the game, right, Liverpool were insane, and obviously we know that it's the highest ever performance in terms of expected goals in Premier League history. I think with the 7.5, right? But like they looked at, there was 2 penalties, but even without that, they were insanely good. And also on the flip side, Newcastle were insanely bad, right? And like you had numbers last week when we were catching up, right, around their defense, and it's like it's a real interesting thing. I mean, that we'll have to consider. Are Newcastle just bad now? Like, have people worked them out? If they just had too much fatigue because everyone's been flogged to death, like because they've played so many minutes, or is it just a thing that there's been fixture congestion and they're going to kind of improve suddenly? I don't know. It'd be interesting, right? But if you of the former, that Newcastle just suddenly plummeted off the cliff in terms of their performance, you'd want a fit Haaland, right? And you'd want to be prioritised.
Yeah. So
So
then,
yeah,
how would you do it for a 4 point, or would you just bench one of Son or Salah for a week?
that's something to consider in it. I wouldn't be adverse. Like I haven't done a hit this year, but I'm not adverse when there's opportunities, right? So when
Yeah.
you're two premium midfielders, so at the moment my team is starting Charlie Taylor. Right? If you're starting a premium midfielder alternative over Charlie Taylor, then you can kind of justify the hit, right? And then if it's bringing Haaland back to what looks like a weak Newcastle side to kind of captain him, then that could justify it. So yeah, it could be for a hit, or it could just be Salah out for Saka, who we'll talk about him later, but I think his underlying numbers have been really good kind of recently. So I know I've flipped on him a little bit, but I'm starting to see some good performances the last 3 game weeks from Saka. I don't have him, but yeah, Saka to Haaland could be a obvious Saka and Haaland, in for Salah and Darwin could be an obvious move, and then it would be like, do I bring in a Foden? Do I bring in a Bowen? Do I bring in a Elise or a Eze for a hit? That would be the point of debate. But I think Newcastle is kind of like interesting to see. For everyone to consider, are they just a bad team now, or is it just because of the fixture congestion? And then likewise, we said it for a while, right? Liverpool are the best attack at the moment. That's why I was all in with Nunez and Salah. And it's the same reason why you brought in Nunez as well, right? I guess the question is like, will they regress like with Salah being out? Like, should we be talking about Jota as a real obvious option? I don't know. My view is probably not at the moment because you just don't know who's going to start. But
yeah, no, I get you. But just to back your point, per 90 minutes. So this is since Dubravka came in. Dubravka's expected goals conceded per 90, 3.34.
Bad, isn't it?
Horrendous. And you know what? I feel bad for Dubravka because the Newcastle form has dropped off a cliff since he came in, and I don't think it is his fault. It just so happens to be he's come in. This has happened. But yeah, 3.34. So do you want the best striker in the league against them? Probably. My only thought is I'd sell. I haven't got that much value in Son, so I'd probably sell. What? I'd sell Salah. I'd sell Salah. I'd probably go Bowen because I've already got Saka. We'll come on to that. And then I'd probably bench Son for a week and not take the 4 point hit because I don't think I'm playing Charlie Taylor at the minute. I'm playing. I know you are. I am. He's on home to Luton. I am playing him. so we'll see. We'll see.
Taylor's really interesting because some people have benefited from his bench rotation and stuff like that. It seems like every that's a shame. It's every 4th game week he gets a return. This next week will be his 3rd one where he's he got his 10-pointer, didn't he? His clean sheet and assist against Sheffield United. Then he had 1-1-0. Then he got a clean sheet against Fulham. So yeah, it's going to be a blank, unfortunately. If you can follow that
blank. Who's he playing the week after out of interest?
Man City.
Guaranteed clean sheet. Yeah. Guaranteed.
There's logic. You follow these patterns, right? You know it makes sense. I mean, yeah, for me, I could play Taylor against Luton. I could play Gordon, as we saw against Liverpool. He can get like an assist or a return against anyone. Yeah, I could run without a hit. Or but I'm open to taking one as well because I think there's some upside with likes of Foden and Bowen as well. So we shall see.
What on the City one for you? Like, so in my head, I'm looking at. I hate rotation risks. I know I bought in Walker, right? So this is kind of against what I've done.
He's not now, but
I hate Pep Roulette.
Stones got injured.
Yeah, absolutely. That midfield, right? You've got Foden, Grealish, Doku, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne's back, Alvarez plays there. Foden obviously got 12 points. I think we last week we touched on the stats, and Bernardo Silva's stats are actually better than Foden's. They weren't in the last game against Sheffield United, in fairness to Foden, but prior to that, for the last 4 games, Bernardo Silva was statistically the better player. I put there as Foden the obvious City midfielder of choice. Would you get a City midfielder? I know we touched on it a bit last week. Would you get a City midfielder in, or are you just going Haaland?
Just Haaland for the time being. I'd like to see. I'd like to. You'd like someone to get banned or have an injury, right? So you got a bit more clarity. You'd want to see how they set up with De Bruyne and Haaland back up. But I think it's going to be really tough to decide who's the obvious one, right? Because Doku's back now, and kind of Grealish will be back in the squad because I think he was, there's burglary, didn't he? He got burgled, I think. So there was some issues there. But like they'll be playing on the left, right? Doku and Grealish is one of them. Plus Bernardo Silva can go in anywhere, right? But it's really those two competing with each other. Haaland will be competing with himself. So Haaland we saw it like this year and we saw it last year. He just plays like near enough 90 minutes in every game, which is cool. Then you got in the 10, you've got De Bruyne as an option. You've got Alvarez as an option. You've got Bernardo Silva as like the floating option there, right? And then and you got Foden as well now because Foden's played centrally last. That's why he's done better the last 2 games. He's played centrally. And then on the other side, you've got Foden versus Alvarez, really, and Bernardo Silva, right? So there's a lot of options there, right? There's a lot of good options. So tough to predict.
Prefer to see how the minutes go when they're all back before making that decision.
Yeah. Because De Bruyne is not going to start. He's not going to start playing at like 90 minutes every game, right? But you think will start easing him off, and I think the rotation risks now are because if Haaland's back, right, it just means that Alvarez now competes with Foden, right, as well.
Yeah,
and De Bruyne will be directly competing with him as well. So who knows? He could start them all and kind of do really well. But for me, it's a bit of a mystery, right? For the time being, like, I want to go on there where there's like surefire things. Feels a bit risky.
Yeah, I'm with you. I know I'm focusing on that, and it's purely because I know people are going to have to sell Son and Salah. So City options are away in, and we'll look at the stats in a second as well about performing midfielders.
I think what could be different is what could be different. Sorry for jumping in there, mate. Is if there was a double game.
It's got that delay. We're not being rude. It's just got a slight delay, so it's we're not talking over each other.
No. I'm hoping that's the case anyway, but we'll run with that. It's a delay, but if that could change. Foden being an interesting option is like a double game week being announced to like 24, 25. Like then you might want to play the risk, right? Because just there's a relatively short term target to hit with an extra City midfielder. But I don't know who's the City midfielder of choice. I'd probably say Foden is probably the one I'd rank most highly at the moment, but De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva are just behind him.
Yeah, if I did bring one in this week, and I did consider it, I thought, do we get ahead of the curve? And I considered for about half a second, may I add, but do we get ahead of the curve? Sell Son or Salah, bring in the City player early, luckily and ever. But I'd have went Bernardo Silva based on what we discussed last week, so I'd have ended up with 3 points for him. And then noted about Areola, the hero, 11 points. In his last 3 games, he's kept 3 clean sheets. Expected goals conceded of 6.07, which is absolutely insane. So I'll put, is he trustworthy? I mean, based on the stats, clearly not. But he pulled 11 points out. The reason I brought this up is you'll see when we get to questions from Matt, somebody is playing a wild card and is interested to know who your choice would be in terms of your 2 keepers.
Okay.
I've got some stats to help you before we get there. You'll be happy to know because I appreciate goalkeepers isn't something you look at weekly. But with this price point of 4.2, despite West Ham's, the defense isn't great. So let's not beat about the bush. Expected data of 6.07 goals in the last 3 game weeks, not exactly against ridiculously difficult. I suppose Arsenal were involved in that. In fairness to them. But would you be getting him based on the price?
Yeah. I mean, he's a good price point. I mean, you're asking, is he trustworthy? No, but this year we've run the stats, and obviously they haven't really I mean, over time they'll average out, right? But like, yeah, we've been unlucky by like looking at underlying stats to kind of determine who's good or whatnot. But like, keepers are a unique breed, really, because like, really, what you want to look for a keeper is the price point to enable flexibility in your wider team. Because I honestly believe the
Yeah,
premium keepers aren't worth the premium at all. I imagine if you had David Raya the like last couple of weeks, like you'd be gutted. But I think looking at saves, the ability to accumulate saves and bonus is probably what you want to look at, right? So yeah, Areola
yeah,
still, he's not getting clean sheets all the time, but he's getting saves, and that's why when he jammed a clean sheet, he got a massive haul, and that can make all the difference, right? So yeah,
okay.
I don't think you want to have him as a set and forget, right? But yeah, he's a decent option, right? Just for his
Yeah,
propensity to take saves. But yeah, I think that there's a few keepers who are better than him, like that are cheap as well. That
yeah.
I'd be, if I was on wildcard and I had unlimited transfers, I'd be targeting them over Areola for sure.
No, don't ruin it because we will come on to that question. You mentioned Raya. Well, look at that next point. Arsenal defence continues to frustrate, and we are both sat with double Arsenal defence. Statistically, apart from late, they were the best defence in the league. Now, I appreciate you've got other fires to put out. Haaland, Son, Salah, to name a few. Is it time to start benching one of your Arsenal assets? Are you thinking of selling one? If anybody's got a double Arsenal defence, where do you go?
Yeah, I mean, like the last two games, right, against West Ham and Fulham, I don't think they deserve the clean sheet, right? So
Yeah,
I think, yeah, those were fair results really to concede 2 goals. But I think over, yeah, 5 game week period, a 10 game week period, certainly they're still the best defense. So it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things that you just want to play the odds. Most weeks, if you look at the bookies odds, they're one of the top three kind of teams with the likelihood of them keeping a clean sheet. So you just got to kind of keep backing that, right? And they've got some fixtures that could like turn it around, right? They've got Palace at home, Forest away, Liverpool home is a difficult one. Then they got a West Ham that are quite stretched in terms of injuries and people going to the AFCON, right? Burnley, Newcastle, Sheffield. I think they're an easy hold, right? I don't know. You're in a very lucky position if you wanted to move or bench Arsenal defence. But then also a question be like, for who? You might say for Porro. Like, a lot of people already own Pedro Porro, like, but Spurs have probably been, other than Newcastle, the worst defence. He's been getting away. Like, it's been his attacking returns, of course, that's what you're getting. But like, yeah, there's just lack of defenders really
yeah.
there.
Where do you go from it? Yeah, I get that. I get that. Well, midfields. So
Hmm.
we had a bit of a touch on this, but I thought it's worth bringing the data up. Um, Son and Salah obviously need to be replaced by a lot of people. And you'll notice on the right hand side, I've got 5 points. I usually have like two or three, but quite a lot jumped out to me on this, right? And I was looking at potential Arsenal. Odegaard was outperforming Saka, not the case anymore. Saka is top.
Yep.
His price, despite the fact his frustrating returns, has continued to go up. He's now 9 million. So I suppose, do you feel like Saka is the obvious and only Arsenal asset?
Um, I think so. I think so. Like, I know I flip flopped on him, so he hasn't been like medium term, like last like 5, 6 game weeks. He hasn't been great, right? But like last 2 game weeks, he's been putting out some really good numbers and has been looking more involved. He's been wide, but been getting into the box, right? So I think that coincides with Erdegaard getting back to fitness and kind of getting more minutes and whatnot. So those two are starting to get their patterns of play together and whatnot, and then underlying numbers for Saka look good. And like, there's that debate around penalties, right? It seems like he's given away penalties to give people confidence, right? So he gave the way one to Havertz, he gave one to Erdegaard, right? He hasn't been scoring much, right? So you'd think Saka would just take the penalty. I'm just trying to like put yourself in his shoes. He's going to want to take it himself, right? Because he's miles behind where like his like goal tally for like last season, right? So I reckon he'd be a bit more greedy. So I think yeah, Saka with those those fixtures coming up, the short term ones, I reckon, yeah, for me, I've hated on him, but yeah, I think it's a good time to jump on him. And if you've got him, happily keep. So yeah, I think Saka's a good option, and it's probably a level. Martinelli isn't really a consideration at all. Against Ødegaard, he's not really getting the numbers right. So yeah, Saka for me is an Arsenal player, but like yeah, generally looking a good. I think he's a viable captaincy option going into this game week with Palace at home.
Yeah, and you absolutely love an underperformer, and he is 12.5
Yeah,
points under where he should be for the last 6 game weeks. So is that what you look at? Like just for, would you look at something like that and go, he's got 20 points, he should have 32.5, he's got nice fixtures, time to get him. Like this is
yeah,
prime time.
100%. It's not like he's owed. You're not owed those points every game. It's a blank slate, right?
Yeah.
It's not like he's owing you those. That he's starting off with benefits. He owes you stuff. But like, I'd look at those expected points that you got here. So like, you got your table fixed, sorted by expected FPL points the last 5 game weeks. Salah, Elise, Son, Gross, Palmer, Saka, Hwang, Richarlison, Douglas Luiz, and Garnacho. Yeah, so Saka's looking good. So I'll look at those and think, hey, if he's got some good fixtures and if he's on an upwards trajectory, yeah, he's a good option. So I think, yeah, I know. I was talking about Bowen as my obvious Salah Son replacement. For me, without Saka, he does seem to be the obvious one. But it's interesting. So yeah, I think your first question is Saka the main asset for Arsenal. I think yes, for a number of reasons. Fixtures, underlying stats looking good. He's got a goal now. You'd think he'd be on pens as well, but like so. Yeah, I think he's
you mentioned last week it was Bowen plus another. I'm getting the concept now with Saka plus another. Bowen, as you'll see, not in the top 10. He's 16th on the list. Expected points of 27.99. He scored 34 points. So he's slightly over performing the underlying stats, but he's 16th. That shocked me because he's playing as a forward. But he's according to the stats, last 6 game weeks, he's the 16th best midfielder in the game.
Yeah, I mean, he's had like against Brighton, he was poor, right? But like Arsenal, he got a fortunate assist. Let's be honest. But then he was good against United. He was good against Fulham, and when was that? That was game week 16. So like, yeah, he's kind of like still a good option. You know, he's going to play up front and play every minute. It's just, is there a better option? Like Bowen's fixtures as well are good, right? He's got Sheffield United and Bournemouth, right? A very short-term view, right? But like, you know, he's got the nice short-term fixtures as well, right? So yeah, he's a real.
People worry because obviously Paqueta's out, Kudus is gone. So you think people are worried that the creative outlet to get the ball to Bowen, like yesterday, right? Prime example yesterday, they're playing Brighton. Brighton have conceded goals for fun this season. That was their first clean sheet of the season yesterday. Against the West Ham side that didn't have the creative outlet of Paqueta and Kudus. Does that worry you against Bowen? Go bringing him in, or would you just ignore that? That's a one-off game. See what happens.
I don't see what happens really. I think there's a few freak games, right? So I think that was a freak game. Obviously, the Liverpool game was a freak game in a different way, but like obviously Liverpool great attack, it exaggerated them being a great attack. I mean, sometimes it's just the end of the really packed period, right? So like all these players are probably knackered. So I think like the Brighton West Ham fixture was probably a result of that, right? Just all those. It was quite lethargic, right? I think from I wasn't watching it, but like from what I read up and looking at the match stats, it suggests it was quite a like lethargic game. So I think I won't put too much value on that one game week thing. So yeah, I think Bowen is still real. He's probably like most people have Saka already, so he's probably like the number one option for a lot of people. It's just kind of whether some of these more interesting options are not interested in these more, I guess, lower owned players are more appealing. I don't know.
On that's the bottom points I've made. Do you think Jota's an option? So Jota, obviously, just coming back from injury, has come off the bench in the last 2 games. Just going to get his stats, but he's classed in the game as a midfielder. 7.7 million. Played 26 minutes against Newcastle. Expected goal involvement of 0.81. played 6 minutes against Burnley, got himself a goal. His expected return per 90 is that he's played this season 0.41. Do you see him as a potential choice, or is it the worry that you have with Foden, where it's like, well, he's got so much competition, you want guaranteed 90-minute men?
Yeah, I'd rather Foden over Jota, but like, yeah, Jota's a good option. I guess is would I go there personally? No, unless Luis Diaz's or Gakpo are announced injured, then I'll be like, oh, happy days. But at the moment, you've got what Diaz, Darwin, Jota, Gakpo, and probably Elliott competing for that's 5 competing for 3 positions, and it's not really clear. I guess that's in Jota's favour, right? That he could play across the whole 3, like, but I don't think there's any one of those which is definitely his position. Like Diaz is definitely left wing is his. Nunez is definitely the striker, isn't it? Is Jota definitely the right wing? I'm not sure. So like, yeah, it's that minutes risk, right? So I won't go there, but I think there's definitely the upside for people who want to take that minutes risk. Not for me though. Not for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. And then just we spoke on the City midfielders. I appreciate they missed a game. They had the blank because of the World Club Cup. But Foden is the top midfielder for City, given the last game took his stats ahead of Bernardo Silva. He's 18th. None of them are no City midfielder in the top 10. Interesting. I just found that very interesting. You'd think, considering they're the best team in the league, they would dominate these charts. But yeah, just found that interesting. Garnacho and Elise, I should have probably put Gross in that as well. Fairly cheap midfielders, all in the top 10 for their for recent form. Would you consider any of them just for budget purposes?
Like Garnacho is interesting for a long-term point of view, just for like the team structure, right? He's a real nice, cheap price point, right? And like he's got some okay underlying stats, and he's good for a rotation option, right? And having a cheap player. Gross, yeah, Gross. Like Brighton have got a nice run of fixtures now coming up, so Gross could be appealing, right? He's guaranteed to play. He's not now playing as right back, which he was last year and early in the season, right? He's now playing centre mid, but like getting forward. So Gross is an interesting option, as is Elise for sure. I think Elise's expected FPL points, they are biased, right? Because he got a penalty. I think Eze's still on them, because I think Eze came on off the bench, but like the penalty was awarded like a minute later. Right, so that'll be done, right? Do you know what I mean? If you just come on, you don't take the penalty, right? So I think Eze's still on them, but yeah, if Elise's on penalties, it could be like a really interesting kind of like option there. Like, and same goes for Eze, right? We know he's had some really interesting stats. I mean, the Palace fixtures are mixed, right? So they got Arsenal, then they got Sheffield United at a right game in game week 22, which like is looking good. They got Brighton away, which is normally a tight game. They got Chelsea, so it's mixed. It's a mixed bag, right? It's a mixed bag of fixtures. But yeah, I think Elise / Eze, Gross, yeah, they're options. I think what's unfortunate for Gross is now João Pedro's minutes look more assured because of the injuries elsewhere, and it seems like João Pedro takes penalties when they're both on the pitch. If he's not on the pitch, Gross will be taking them, which is like really appealing. So, as always with these charts, like it really does highlight the power of penalty takers. You got Salah there, you got Elise who took one, you got Son who's taken one, Palmer who's taken many. Saka hasn't, but he is the penalty taker. Douglas Luiz, like the reason why he's on it is penalties, right? So yeah, they show the power of getting them. So I think that does diminish Palmer's appeal, not Palmer, Gross's appeal a little bit.
Yeah, just looking at Gross's recent expected goal involvement, so working backwards: 0.76, 0.33, 0.54, 0.58, 0.85, 0.71. So he's basically should be getting a return every other game, and is coming up Wolves, Luton, Palace, Spurs away, not great, but their defence is all over the place. Sheffield United, Everton at home, Fulham away, and Notts Forest at home. They are tasty fixtures.
That does sound appealing, then. It's a real shame, yeah. It's a real shame about that he's not guaranteed pens, because he dominates every other set piece at the moment. So that's what you're buying into, right? It's him whipping in a free kick or a corner and like don't get all the end of it. That's what you're buying into. But those are some real consistent returns over quite a lot of game weeks, right? So
I'm calling
shows
Gross. I'm calling it.
show some respect there.
Yeah, I'm calling it fourth on form, and then we bring you over to the predicted points, which obviously is balanced in a certain way. Gross isn't there. Wouldn't be surprised if he ends there. But Foden top, Saka second, Odegaard third, Bowen fourth, Palmer fifth, so on and so forth. At least he's there though, despite the fact he's potentially going to miss game week 21 with injury. Obviously, Palace have got some nice fixtures coming up, but are you expecting anybody that you feel is missing? Anybody that jumps out at you?
Yeah, well, I think this is the fixed model, right? That's predicted. So yeah, game week 21, 26 predicted points according to fix. Yeah, Foden's top.
25. I apologise. I messed up again. It should be 21 to
25.
25 for Son. The points are 21 to 25. I just haven't put it at the top.
But yeah, we know the fixed model does like Foden a lot, and I think probably does overestimate his value, right? But yeah, I'm not surprised there. But I think if you're forming a good midfield at the moment, this is probably pick any 4 or 5 from here, right? So yeah, Foden's a good option. Saka, one of Saka or Odegaard. You could go both. I think there's an option to go for both Arsenal midfielders. Bowen is there, Palmer's there. Unsurprisingly, you got Elise, who I think you can view as interchangeable with Eze as well, depending on who you think is on pens. Grealish and Bernardo Silva, not so heavy on them, but that's probably just getting into the Man City factor. Richarlison is a really interesting option as well at the moment. I'm quite big on him. His numbers have been good, very good. Maddison will be back this game week as well, I believe. So he'll probably get eased back in, but he might be starting again in 22, which you think has got to be good for someone like Richarlison. So I think the only name that's not there is Gross, really.
Pascal Gross. I'm gonna have to look at see if I can make Gross, Bowen, Saka, Haaland work. I think I can. I'll work. Tune in next week to find out whether I can make that work.
There's a big name. There is a big name who's not on there, who I think has got a mixed fixture run, but okay. Is Bruno Fernandes? So I know it was very low on Manchester United right now, but up and down depending on what they win. Have they won the last game week? But I mean, he could be a factor, right? He was one of the people I may still consider him to be honest. Unfortunately,
interestingly, right?
His numbers have been bad. Bad.
Yeah.
Bad, but
appreciate that. We've already mentioned the predicted points is weighed slightly, but if you do add in game week 26, Bruno Fernandes is in the top 10.
Oh, okay. Yeah, not surprised then. Yeah, not surprised. He's played. I was just looking at his stats there. Over the season, they've been good, not great, but good. First half of the season, very good. Well, we owned him for that, and it was kind of frustrating experience, but he did get some returns. Yeah, through December they've been really poor, but I think that's because he's been playing very, very deep. But he's like the top creative chances in Europe by some margin. You've probably seen those Sky Sports graphics that go out, and it's got Bruno Fernandes way out by himself. Problem is, he's just got a really bad team to convert those chances, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I might run what period I want these players for, and if it's over, as you said, a slightly longer period, Bruno Fernandes I think becomes an option too.
Richarlison, last question on this page. Do you see the Tottenham front? So with Son out, do you think it'll be Johnson left, Kulusevski right, Maddison behind Richarlison still as a striker? Or do you feel like Richarlison might be pushed to the left because the gap for Son is there now?
No, I think as you described, Johnson / insert someone else, Maddison / someone else, and then Kulusevski. I think, that's a decent forward line, right? I think, and the good thing with Son being out, right, is he's not dictating their play. He's converting their chances, right? So it's not I think Maddison being out was probably more of an impact than Son being out, because he's there to wrap up chances, right? He's not dictating play. So I reckon they'll be just fine. And it'll probably work well for Richarlison, actually.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so as an owner. Your camera's gone off, just so you know. But I said we'd bring up some stats to help you with a question that's coming up. Now, this is a short-term thing. Goalkeepers on form. I've only done the last three. You're back. Only the last 3 game weeks. But I found something very interesting, right? So I put 2 tables in. The one on the left by expected clean sheets. The one on the right by expected points. Now, you do get quite, and this is, as I said, the last 3 game weeks, because Areola has only played the last 3. And this is what I found interesting. Expected clean sheets, Neto, Becker, Martinez, Edison, Leno, and Rea, yada, yada, yada. Expected points, well, Neto's top of expected clean sheets, second for points. Becker's second and third. Martinez is third and fourth. So generally, the expected clean sheets deliver expected points. Areola, top of expected points, not in the top 10 for clean sheets. I mean, does that just prove to you the power of save points?
Yeah, obviously, without looking into the how they've calculated it, it's probably got a heavy weight into save points, right? So, yeah, I think the classic example here is, obviously Areola. He's not predicted to keep any clean sheets recently, but he's top of the expected FPL points because of those saves. And then on the flip side, you got Edison, who's expected to keep at least one and a bit over the last 3 game weeks, as he'll be up there most game weeks. He never does any save points, so for me, it's a useless option as a goalkeeper. So it shows you can see what the expected clean sheets kind of table dominated by goalkeepers from the best teams, and then the one from expected points is mixed. It's got some of the good teams, but then there's weaker teams there because of just the sheer amount of shots they concede, right? So obviously Areola's there, Trafford's there, Vicario's there, and Spurs are a really bad defense. He's a good keeper. So I think you want to find the balance, don't you? You want to find that perfect balance that Pope was a few seasons ago for Burnley, where they're an okay defense, but they're conceding high shot volume, but bad quality shots.
Newcastle used to be.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
exactly that.
Yeah, maybe they'll come back. But I just thought that was an interesting comparison. But it was to help you, because we're going to move on to questions from Matt. Quite a few been submitted, so thank you for everybody that did. It's that question 2. I've got a nice little couple of tables for you to look at for question 2, so remind me to flick the screen over for you as well. But shout outs for their submission. So FPL Matt, with the first question, long-time supporter, has retweeted many, many times what we've done. So thank you, FPL Matt, for that. Very, very much so. Pedro, yes or no? Now, I thought you meant Pedro Porro, but I think you pulled up. He actually means João Pedro, which makes more sense. So do you think João Pedro is an option given those fixtures that Brighton have got coming?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Matt. And if it's Pedro of the Porro variety, I think obviously, he's a hold, right? Of course, because even though Spurs are a really, really bad defense, he's finding ways to get those attacking returns, and the underlying stats suggest that he's going to keep doing that, right? So I hate not having him. Whilst other teams are not keeping clean sheets, he's a great option. Would I be spending a transfer to get in Pedro Porro now? No, and I don't think anyone else should be, because there's Haaland coming back, there's Salah and Son out, right? There's more optimal moves to make, right? So that's the question for Porro. If it's João Pedro, which I think is probably around João Pedro, I think he's a good option. He's a good option, right? Obviously, he's on pens, he's getting more minutes, and Dave, you've gone through the Brighton run when you were bigging up Gross a little bit there. They got a really nice run. What I would say, though, is we've only got limited spaces in our squad, right? So who would you be sacrificing for João Pedro, and are they a better option? Yes or no, right? So I know João Pedro is kind of cheaper, but is he better? Would I rather João Pedro or Solanke? I'd still rather Solanke, I think, just because of the assured minutes. and the upcoming double game week, right? So I want to have him over Slanky. I think everyone will have Haaland like next game, this game week or next game week, right? I think that's pretty obvious. And then you might want a Watkins as well, right? So you're playing with the formation that you've got, and then what player you'd be sacrificing. Again, like, would you rather João Pedro over Palmer? No. Would you rather him over a Bowen? It's kind of difficult to squeeze him in, but I like him as an option. I like him as an option for sure. So I think it's team dependent, but I think it's going to be difficult to squeeze João Pedro in. But I like the thinking. I think you could come up trumps, like, if you're confident on his minutes, right? Just with that run.
Yeah. It's team dependent then. Yeah, I'm with you. FPL FOMO has also retweeted us twice, so thank you, FPL FOMO, for your support. Best two keepers on a wild card. Now, I said I had a slide for you. It looks a mess, but for anybody that isn't aware of this website, I've put the link on there. FPLrotationplanner.com is brilliant. It was actually shared by Focal, which is I think how I found it. It allows you to say, look, I want to look at these two teams. Oh, sorry. I want to look at teams that rotate very nicely. So that's what I've got in front of you here. So I've looked at keepers in terms of their cost, and then what sort of run they can get over the next 10 game weeks. Now, there's a few that are expensive. There's some that are risk rotations. Brighton have come up quite a few times. I appreciate Steele doesn't start every game, so maybe stay away from them. But looking at those, we had a bit of a chat before. I appreciate that West Ham Bournemouth one appeals to you. Yeah, what if you were on the wild card? Just to ask the question again, FPL FOMO. If you're on the wild card, which two keepers would you get?
Yeah. So ignoring this, because I think this is secondary info, I'd be looking at keepers that are conceding a high volume of shots and maybe have okay fixture runs, and then also importantly, because goalkeepers always go insane on double game weeks, right? It's the position where, like, if you nail it, you get huge points, and they seem to do it way more than like defenders and midfielders, right? They always go insane. I'd be prioritizing people who've got double game weeks, right? So I would be first person on the team sheet would be Neto for Bournemouth, right? So it's quite good that your previous table was saying he's like looking good for expected clean sheets, but also for expected points. And obviously here you put Neto's come up in your rotation planner as well. So he's the best keeper at the moment. And that's just for those reasons, but he's going to have a double game week sometime soon, right? So you've got an extra game. I think the second best option, if money's not an object, would be Flecken. So I don't know what the rotation plan looks like there, but again, I'd be targeting Flecken because Brentford do concede a high volume of shots, and he has a double game week, and his double game week, I think, should be in a different game week than Bournemouth, because obviously that's the downside, right? Is that you don't want the choice of benching a double game week goalkeeper, right? So I think Flecken and Neto for those reasons, I think would be the top two for me. If I'm looking for a nice rotation, I'd probably do what you've got there, the bottom left-hand side, the West Ham Bournemouth one. So it's got a nice cost. I don't want to put too much money into my keepers, but Areola, Neto, like two kind of starters and like a nice rotation there. So you got Sheffield United, Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest, Fulham, Nottingham Forest, Brentford, Burnley, Sheffield United, Wolves, Everton. That's a nice run for the next 10 game weeks or so for sure. And then we know Areola gets save points. We know Neto does, and Neto has a double game week hopefully somewhere in that period as well. So I think that's the best one without a doubt, really. I mean, I wouldn't be considering the other ones, to be honest. Without Neto, I wouldn't be considering them. And then I think the other alternatives you've got here, Bournemouth and Brighton, I won't go there because of the rotation risk for Steele, and also just the kind of price isn't like rock bottom in terms of price. And then you've got Martinez from Villa rotating with Neto. Again, that's far too expensive, that, I think, for a keeper, given the other options you've got available, right? So I think I think it'll be Neto plus one of Areola or Neto plus Flecken.
So just got that up. So Flecken, it's not terrible, that trade. So you could get a run of Forest at home, You then probably go West Ham away, but then you get Forest at home again, Fulham away, then Liverpool at home, then West Ham away. Okay, it's not great. It's not great. It's you probably get where I've got on here about like
Yeah.
the ranking of two in the next 10 game weeks. You probably get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you get seven. You get 7 twos. So again, not
I,
horrendous.
I mean, I mean, what I'd say with keeper rotations, I've probably done it this year a little bit, but it's probably the first time I've ever really done it. I've never paid much attention to it. I've looked at fundamentals. How strong is the defense of the team? How many shots do they kind of concede? Are their fixtures like generally okay? And I'll do a set and forget for a long period. And then
Yeah,
if they got double game weeks coming up, that's an added bonus that would really influence the ones you target. Keepers, they generally, in my experience anyway, they kind of like trend towards the mean. Do you know what I mean? In terms of how many points they score, and you get these random
yeah.
returns, as we've experienced with Dubravka and Areola this week, right? So I won't overthink it. I think Neto is a bit of a gift, kind of given that he ticks a lot of these boxes and has that double, and then it's who you want to rotate him with. And my default is spend as little as possible. So Flecken is an option, but like I think
Alvarez.
it's probably the Areola one is the best bet.
There we are. Not Alvarez. Alvarez will be a terrible goalkeeper. Areola is who I meant to say. Well, there you go, FOMO. There you go. Hopefully that was helpful. Woodsy, again, I'm thanking everybody today, but Woodsy recently promoted us. FPL Map put on, tell us um, some of your favorite channels, and Woodsy
Yeah.
was there promoting us. So thank you for that, Woodsy. So his question is a generic one. It's not about this specific game week per se. It is, when do you plan on using your second wild card and why?
Good question, Woods. And yeah, can anyone guess your New Year's resolution is to be more thankful to everyone else? So you're living up,
Exactly.
living up to that. But yeah, kind of thank you for the questions. Probably no earlier than game week 30. So I'm gonna wait for the doubles to and the blank game weeks to manifest, right, and plan accordingly. I think yeah, I can't see me doing it earlier than game week 29. So yeah, I don't have a specific game week yet, but once we have a better view of the doubles and black game weeks, I'll plan accordingly. But I'll be hoping to target the ones at the back end rather than the ones that will happen maybe in game week 25 or 26. I'll be targeting the ones after that, I think.
Yeah.
And why?
Just
I mean, my team is pretty well set, and some people may want a wild card Salah or Son back in. But I actually think there's a good chance there'll be some blank game weeks for Liverpool and Spurs based on FA Cup and League Cup and whatnot, right?
yeah.
So I won't rush them back in, and I think you can kind of live without Son actually for a bit as well. So I won't wildcard those guys back in. So yeah, I think the team is fine, and yeah, I want to target that real disruptive period of the year and try and get as many players playing as many games as possible. Really, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, beyond that, then, so my mate John Stewart, big shout out to John Stewart. He listens fairly regularly. Now he's got a lot of players out. So he's got Son, he's got Salah, he's got Kudus. Now it is terrible planning. He won't thank me for saying that. But he's got a lot of problems. Now he's thinking of wild carding now and using the second one pretty much today. So I'll tell you the team who he's got out. Zinchenko seems to be out. Son, Haaland's questionable. He's got Tim Ream. Matty Cash is getting dropped left, right, and centre. He's only got one transfer. Do you feel like there's ever a point in which, like, if for something like that, it's worth playing now, or would you be like, no, take hits, keep the wild card?
Is he in one of your mini leagues?
He is, yeah.
Well, lucky you. Sorry, John. That's yeah. I mean, that's probably some bad planning there, which like, embrace it and lap it up. Yeah, I think if like, it sounds like from that, how many players have they got? Like 8 or 7?
Yeah, so 3 defenders out. And he can play the rest. Haaland will be back soon, won't he? Kulusevski was there, but I'm pretty sure he'll be back for the next game. So it's really only the defense problem and Son. It's Son's another problem, but he could definitely get 3-4-3 if Haaland's back, or yeah.
I think on that one, yeah. Wait, I think the main benefit, like you want to go for these swings, right? So again, like having Haaland in, you're actually ahead of the curve in some ways. Like so, you're a transfer up on a
Yeah.
lot of people. So I think wait on the fitness and views. If he's fit, make a defender move. You can bench Son for a week. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not
Yeah.
the end of the world. Like you don't have to replace these players. You've got to be comfortable playing your bench. If you can get a squad out there, or even 10 players, and you've got the best captaincy option, I reckon there's live for another day, right? And maximize
Yeah.
those opportunities really.
So better
So yeah,
to
like
play
it
10
sounded
and use
bad
the
actually,
wild
but
card.
like it sounded bad, but I think
Yeah, it's not horrendous.
no, it's not horrendous actually. And like I think it's weight on
Mm.
the Haaland news really. I don't think is like generally speaking. I mean, that was quite an extreme team, right? With like so many injuries and people being dropped and people going to AFCON and Asian Cup. That's an extreme example, but I think generally speaking, it's a really bad time to wildcard right now
Yeah.
because I don't think there's a huge amount of options. There'll be
Yeah.
lot. There could have been lots of options when it comes to captaincy, but I think with Haaland being out, that's going to get like locked in, right? So I think it's a really bad time because like very soon we'll know double game weeks and blank fixtures, and like we can plan around those. And I think there's not a huge amount of options right now. I think it's really compressed the number of players that are viable. So I think it's a bad time to wildcard, generally speaking. But some people want to do that, right? Because they've wildcarded game week 8 or game week 9 or game week 10. They're not doing so well, and they want to shake things up. I think it's generally a mistake to
Yeah.
do it.
I hope you're listening, John. I hope you're listening. It usually does. I hope you're listening, John. So there you go. Thank you for that. And then an extra question just thrown in off cuff. But yeah, I agree. I constantly play the last one when I can get a double game week bench boost out if that's possible. We'll see as the games fall. Um, First time question for Asher Sibber Jr. So thank you again. Keep those thanks coming for submitting your question. Hopefully the first of many. Kind of touched on this, so just be interested in from a minutes point of view. So KDB's returning, Haaland's returning. Who's most likely to lose the minutes, Foden or Alvarez? I think you kind of touched on that. Foden's kind of got the right wing more than Alvarez has probably got the right wing position. Bernardo Silva can play there as well. So I kind of felt before you were leaning more towards Foden getting more assured minutes, but is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, guns ahead. I'd say Foden's probably got better minutes over the medium term. I think Alvarez is going to start game week 21 because I don't think both KDB and Haaland are going to start against Newcastle. Like there's going to be some easing back in, right? But yeah, game week 22, 23 onwards, I think because Alvarez kind of twofold because he early in the season when he was getting his minutes, he was playing KDB's position, and Foden hadn't played centrally because Foden was playing on the right wing, right? And like obviously recently, Haaland's been out, so he's been playing those minutes. I think he needs to be rested as that rotation option for both KDB and Haaland, right? So if they're going to win a game, and we've seen this with Man City, like historically, they're 3-0 up, 60 minutes, 70 minutes, who are you going to bring on? I think for both of those guys, like Alvarez is the obvious option, right? So he needs to be on the bench to sub off KDB and Haaland. Whereas Foden, he'll be rotating with KDB potentially as the 10, or he could play the 10 with KDB behind him, or he could play right wing. So I think it's kind of partly because Alvarez is more important from a rotation point of view that he would be subbed more, like a bit of a counterintuitive logic there. But I think it's really close. I think Alvarez, he'll play the next start 21. Let's see what happens on game week 22. But I mean, he's a big rotation risk kind of like moving forward. But as is Foden, who knows? We'll have to see what happens. I don't think Alvarez has been tearing it up.
No.
I have to say that as well, right?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
They're crying out for De Bruyne and Haaland to come back because they're two of the best players in the league and the world, of course. But the Alvarez has been for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks has been quite underwhelming, right? So I think, I think he'll be rotated more than Foden. I think.
Yeah. Just to clarify that, 2 goals in his last 10.
Hmm.
So
Like,
for a
obviously, yeah,
striker.
he got his, yeah, one of them's a pen as well. He got his goal on the weekend, but it was like Foden put it on a plate for him. If he was Nunes, he would have missed it. But yeah, it was like all Foden that rather than, well, it was actually it was Bob Werner. He did that little
Oh, it's a
cut through
great pass to Foden.
pass to Foden, who then kind of put on a plate for Alvarez. But yeah, I think Foden's more sure of minutes. I think moving forward versus Alvarez. That's my personal opinion. I would love I'd love Haaland to be in the squad for Huddersfield, and then lots of training photos. And then if we get one of the City leaks, which we always kind of get, like for Haaland starting against Newcastle, I'd be straight there for sure. But without that, if he's not in the squad for Huddersfield, it's like he's probably one of their top 3 or whatever kind of most important players, right? He's back in, you'd expect, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, just in case anybody writes in and complains, 2 open non-penalty goals is what I was meant to say about Alvarez in his last 10. But yeah, I'm with you. I get your point with that. I didn't think about that, about the importance of Alvarez coming off the bench to replace a KDB and a Haaland, which is Foden's not really going to get that. So, interesting thoughts on it. Transfer question of the week: Kyrie Irving, long time listener, many questions. I've got to thank Kyrie as well. I've thanked everybody else, so thank you for your support, Kyrie. 2 of these 3. So he's obviously similar to us. He's got Son and Salah to deal with, and he's thinking, I need to bring in 2 midfielders. We've touched on this slightly. I don't think you rank them, so I'm going to get you to rank them. Bowen, Saka, Foden. Just to point out the last 6 game weeks data I mentioned. Saka scored 20 points, but expected of 32. Bowen scored 34, expected of 28. Foden scored 39, but expected of 26.7. So, which 2 are you taking? What order are you ranking them in?
Yeah, obviously Foden as well. He missed a game, right? So he'd be closer to expected points of like 30 or above if he had that. I would go Saka, Bowen, Foden. Saka top based on fixtures, but assured minutes, and his underlying stats the last couple of game weeks. They've been bad, but like the last 2 have been good. So I'm hoping that will continue and be a bit of form. Bowen, the worry with Bowen is West Ham just a bad team, and without Paqueta and Kudo, so they gonna regress massively. I think again, Bowen's done well. He'd be guaranteed 90 minutes. So I think that's a strongly in his favour. Foden's been good, isn't he, the last 2 game weeks in particular, but then it's De Bruyne's return comes at the worst time for him. So it's just the minutes risk really. I think always like players that play more minutes and you want people to be playing 90 minutes as well. We can see time and time again how that can happen. Let's think of Liverpool against Newcastle, right? Salah got all his returns in the last like 20 minutes, right? If you're not on the pitch, you're not there for it, right? So if Foden does start, is he going to play the whole 90? I'm not sure. It's just still a bit of a doubt for me, really. Where he's competing with Silva, he's competing with Alvarez, he's competing with De Bruyne. Those are all very good options, aren't they? So it's a tough one.
Yeah, absolutely. So short minutes, Saka, Bowen, Foden unfortunately 3rd. Through no fault of his own, it's all because of Pep. That's what I'm getting. But there you go. No, Kyrie, he'll be very happy to hear your thoughts on that one. Last screen we're going to look at, just because we have got the results, is Matt versus Dave. We're not going to pick our next ones until next week, so and it's you to pick first because it's game week 21, so it's an odd week. So you get to go first. Now, I bring that up because it's important that we point that out because I only won this game week because I got to go first. So I picked Elise, and I know if I didn't pick Elise, you were going to pick Elise. He came in with 15 points thanks to his 2 goals and some bonus points. Bernardo Silva, I picked him. We had a big discussion about him last week, and as I say, his stats were better than Foden. So I thought this guy against Sheffield United could bring some points in. Didn't, got the clean sheet points, but That put me on 18. Appreciate Bailey for you got a goal, but Nkunku didn't start, which was the probably the killer there. So he only ended up on 1 point, ended you on 9. But you'd have definitely picked Elise if I didn't get him. So it was just fortunate I got to go first though.
No, you'd been humble. We're doing all right the last couple of game weeks of getting some big returns though, right? I have to say that.
Yeah.
I think there was a period. There was a period where it was like we were just picking duds. There's whoever's midfielder got a clean sheet point, but like, yeah, there's been some nice attacking returns there. So what have we got? We got 3 goals then out of from
3 goals
between Bailey and Alicia. That's pretty decent. Pretty decent. So
not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. And that you'll be first for the next game week. So Elise is all yours away at Arsenal. Feel free to take him. You're more than welcome to have him away at Arsenal. I can't think who Bailey's got. Bernardo Silva away at Newcastle. So these names that we keep picking, I don't think they've got the best fixtures. I can't think who Villa have got mine.
I mean,
I
think for me, I'm quite clear of one of the players on the pick. I'm just going to see if he's under 5% ownership.
Less than 5.
There's 2 that I really want.
Won't give anything away. Although you can name the one. You can name the number 1 because you get to go first. I can't steal. And then might get me to think about particular teams. So you might not want to do that either.
Yeah, I'm going to go Jota as the first one.
Jota.
2.2%.
With Salah out, there's a good chance he'll probably get a game. And he's, I watch obviously pretty much every Liverpool game I can, and he's pretty cool in front of goal. So I think he's a good pick. But yeah, it takes the current score to in my favour, 8-6. Still plenty to play for. We did kind of mention at the very first one of these that people needed to write in and tell us what our forfeit should be for the loser. One has come up, which I think is pretty good. Whether you be game for it is a different matter. But the forfeit is for the game week 1 of next season. The loser has to captain a defender.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm not overly against that. I'm okay with that. I'm quite cool with that. It means I'm definitely captaining Trent.
Well, you know what will happen there is like Liverpool have a prime fixture against a promoted squad, and it's like happy days. I'm going to go Trent, but then you're going against 5 million players who are going to captain Salah.
Yeah, that is the problem. That is the problem. And at the minute, we won't commit to that. Anybody else listening, if you think you've got another one, write it in the comments or tweet us or something. But otherwise, let's go for that. I think that's a good one. Apologies, I can't remember who sent me it. It might have been FPL Andy Pandy, but apologies if it was somebody else. But yeah, there you go. So that's the minute the loser captain's a defender.
We'll see where I finish this year. If I'm like still up there, the Hall of Fame stuff, I might be like, I didn't hear you say it. But if I'm like,
true, that's a good point.
I'm languishing somewhere, I'll be like, yeah, cool, do it.
Yeah, you've got more on the line than I have with this sort of thing. Well, there you go. So we'll find out who our picks are next week. We'll find one of them, Jota, but we'll find out the rest. But that brings it to the end. We will look to meet again, Matt, next week, some Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, as usual, ahead of the deadline for game week 21, which is on the 13th. And then there's 17 days between that and the next.
Oof.
It's a big break, just for different reasons. Big old break. So winter break, I believe, is what we're calling some of it. And then, yeah, it's a big game week, though, isn't it? So from game week 13 to from the 13th until the 21st is the game week itself. So it's a big stretch.
It's a good point. It's like, do you front end? The question is, it's like, do you front end players that are playing like the weekends? Like, there's a lot of training, right? There's a lot of injury risks there, right? I wouldn't want to be going in for load up on Brighton players when they've got they're playing, as you said, 13 days after.
The other issue is, when did Liverpool play? I should know that, but I'm pretty sure Liverpool play the second weekend, right?
Yeah, second weekend.
They don't play the first weekend. Now, prior to that, after the deadline, they've got a game against Fulham in the League Cup. Potential injuries. Chelsea are might be in the same boat. Fulham might be in the same boat. and Middlesbrough don't really matter. So ignore Middlesbrough. But Fulham, Chelsea, and Liverpool have League Cup games, but to contend with as well. So it's interesting, right? Would you bring in Liverpool players on the worry that they've got a competitive game prior to their Premier League game? That could be a consideration.
I mean it's a consideration, right? When we're making these 50-50 calls, right? So Bowen is playing on the second weekend, where a lot of people be targeting him against Sheffield United. We mentioned Jota, we mentioned Gross, we mentioned Saka. For me, I think I'm probably the only person who doesn't own him now, but he's on the second weekend. But then, yeah, you've got Man City playing on the first weekend. Foden, we could get the leak. That's good news, though. We might get the leak around Haaland, right? So that's quite interesting. But yeah, like Richarlison, Bruno Fernandes, they're playing the first weekend. So it's something. It shouldn't be something we disregard, right? It's a weird one. Yeah. Like a 2 week 2 week game week. Yeah, very very weird. And be interesting. Yeah, there's going to be someone who gets injured, right? And there's going to be someone that's highly that's going to get injured middle of that game week, and then they're screwed over. I mean,
first bench option going to be Charlie Taylor.
I mean, I would like that, because it's inevitable he's going to get Hall, right? The every time people need him, he gets like a return. So I'd be happy if he goes down with like a minor illness or something like that for one weekend. I don't know.
Yeah, just to see him out. But I keep getting a text from somebody that we both know. Not to give names away, but they might be top of our mini league. Halfway through a game week, telling me his rank. It's like, just wait until the end, man. And that's going to be hard this game week, isn't it? Because you'll be on Monday, you'll want to look at your overall rank.
Right.
But you've then got another 5 games still to play.
Last time I checked, he was taking -8s everywhere, and then they were all coming off.
No, the individual's doing pretty well. They're doing pretty well. They're appreciate nobody else knows who this individual is. So I'll chat to you. I'll close up and then we'll chat about it. So it's
he's got a nice squad.
Thank you.
He's got a very nice squad, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's in the top 100k if I'm not mistaken. So he's having a good season. 50 odd k. I'm not wrong. 47k.
So he's looking very good, actually. Yeah,
a good season.
Well, yeah, 70k, but I can see why he did the midweek rank. Unlucky with Salah.
Yeah, that's it.
But I can't look.
But that'll be difficult this week.
Yeah.
It'll be difficult because you'll sit and you'll obviously look at on Monday. Oh, look, my rank's this. It's like, yeah, but you've got another 5 Premier League games to go before the game week's out. So ignore if you can until all the games are played. That's probably the risk. But
it is nice having a lot of players in the last couple of games in a game week, right? Especially your captain, right? Because then you have that like late surge, right? So it's always sweet. But I don't know. I'm not captaining him, Pascal Gross. I don't know about you.
I might have to looking at the data today. Maybe we'll see. We'll see what we'll bring in. But yeah, I appreciate your time, Matt, as always. Thank you very much. And we'll pick up, as I say, next week prior to the game week 21 deadline. Plenty of thinking to do between now and then about who our Son replacements, Son and Salah replacements, potential Haaland buy-in. And we'll discuss it all next week. But no, thank you for your time.
No, sounds good, mate. My pleasure. And thank you to the listeners as well, in the spirit of being thankful.
Indeed, we are up to 258 subscribers now. But if you are listening and you enjoyed it and you think other people could benefit, please do drop us that subscribe, drop us a like. It really does help us out, and yeah, we thank you for it as well. But between now and the next game week, keep those thinking. If you're on the wild card, you've gone early, but I wish you all the best with it. And we will catch up with you all next week.